The baby was dying. Cole Mercer knew it the way a man knows winter's coming, in his bones, in the hollow ache that settled behind his ribs every time he looked at the bundle of blankets where his daughter struggled for breath. Rose, 3 months old, skin like wax paper, eyes glazed with fever, tiny fists curled tight against a pain she couldn't name. He'd tried everything. Goat's milk made her vomit. The doctor from Bridger's Point had come twice, left both times with nothing but sympathy and a bill Cole couldn't pay. Mrs. Henderson from the neighboring ranch brought some kind of tonic that smelled like rotted flowers. Rose screamed when it touched her lips, and the old woman shuffled out looking like she'd witnessed an execution. Maybe she had. The ranch was falling apart too. Fences sagged like broken teeth. The barn door hung crooked on one hinge, banging in the wind all night long until Cole wanted to rip it off and burn it. The cattle had wandered into the higher pastures weeks ago, and he didn't have the strength to bring them back. Frost Creek Valley stretched out below the cabin in shades of brown and gray, beautiful in that mean, indifferent way that mountains are beautiful when they're killing you. Elena would have known what to do. But Elena was 6 feet under the frozen ground beside the creek, buried next to the son who'd never drawn breath. Cole had stood there with a shovel while the preacher talked about mercy and God's plan, and he'd wanted to hit someone. Hit something. Make the world hurt the way he hurt. Instead, he'd gone home to Rose and watched her die by inches. It was March, the kind of March that tricks you. 3 days of sunshine that melts the snow down to mud, then a storm that buries the valley under 2 feet of fresh powder overnight. Cole woke before dawn on the 4th day to silence. Not the good kind, the kind that meant the wind had died and the temperature had dropped, and anything caught outside was probably dead. Rose was whimpering. He stumbled to her cradle, a thing Elena had made him sand 3 times until it was smooth enough she approved, and picked up his daughter with hands that shook. She weighed nothing, less than nothing, like holding a shadow. "Come on, baby girl," he whispered. "Come on." She turned her head away from his finger. Wouldn't suck, wouldn't eat. Just that thin, airless crying that barely made it past her lips. Cole had never been a praying man, but he prayed then. Clumsy, angry prayers that probably didn't make it past the rafters. He prayed to Elena, to his ma, dead 15 years, to anyone who might be listening in whatever came after this. Nothing answered. By noon, he'd made his decision. He found a piece of smooth plank from the woodpile, brushed off the snow, and carved with his hunting knife. Need milk for baby. Will pay. Desperate. His handwriting looked like a child's. He didn't care. He nailed it to the cabin door with 3 hard strikes that echoed across the valley, then went inside to wait. The storm came that night. Not snow this time, wind. The kind that screams down from the peaks and tears shingles off roofs and sends anything not tied down tumbling across the prairie like tumbleweeds. Cole sat by the fire with Rose in his arms, wrapped in every blanket he owned, and listened to the cabin groan. "Your ma would have sung to you," he said. His voice cracked. "I don't know any songs." Rose's breathing had gone shallow, fast and light, like a bird's. He was going to lose her. The knock came just after midnight. Cole jerked awake, hadn't realized he'd dozed, and stared at the door like it had spoken. Rose stirred against his chest. The knock came again, louder. He laid Rose back in the cradle, grabbed the rifle from above the mantel, and yanked the door open. A woman stood there. Big woman, broad-shouldered and heavy, wrapped in layers of soaked wool that clung to her frame. Blonde hair plastered against her face, dripping, mud up to her knees. She was breathing hard like she'd been running, and her eyes, pale blue, almost gray, locked onto his without flinching. "You the one needs milk?" she said. Her voice was rougher than he expected. Not harsh, just worn. Like she'd done a lot of talking in her life, and none of it had been easy. Cole blinked, lowered the rifle. Yeah, I am." "Where's the baby?" He stepped aside. She moved past him into the cabin, shedding water on the floor, and stopped when she saw the cradle. Her whole body went still. Then she crossed the room in 3 long strides, knelt down, and looked at Rose with an expression Cole couldn't name. "How old?" she asked. 3 months? When'd she last eat? 2 days? Maybe 3. The woman made a sound in her throat. Not quite a curse, not quite a prayer. She reached into the cradle with broad, work-rough hands and lifted Rose like she'd done it 1,000 times. Rose didn't cry, just hung there, limp and barely breathing. "Get me clean rags," the woman said. "Warm water if you got it. And close that damn door before we all freeze." Cole moved. He didn't think about it, didn't question. He just moved. By the time he had the rags and a pot of water warming by the fire, the woman had settled into Elena's rocking chair, her heavy frame filling the seat, and was unwrapping Rose from her cocoon of blankets. She worked fast but careful, checking the baby's skin, her breathing, the way her eyes tracked movement. "She's bad off," the woman said. Not to him, just stating fact. "I know. Might be too late." "I know." The woman looked up at him then. Really looked. Her face was round, flushed from the cold, with deep lines around her eyes and mouth that said she'd done her share of smiling once upon a time. She wasn't young, 30, maybe, or 40. Hard to tell with frontier women, the land aged you fast. "I lost my boy 6 weeks back," she said quietly. "Stillborn. Milk came in anyway. Got no use for it now except to hurt." Cole's throat closed up. "I'm sorry," he managed. She shrugged. One shoulder, like she'd heard condolences before and they didn't help. Then she started unbuttoning her dress. Cole turned away fast. "Ain't nothing you haven't seen before," the woman said, but there was no humor in it. "And your girl's dying, so either watch or don't, but I'm feeding her either way." He watched. Not because he wanted to, because he had to know if it would work. The woman, she hadn't given her name, cradled Rose against her chest, bare skin to bare skin, and guided the baby's mouth to her breast. For a long moment, nothing happened. Rose just lay there, head lolling. Then her lips moved. Just a flutter. Then a pull. The woman exhaled hard. "Come on, little one," she whispered. "Come on." Rose latched. The sound she made, that tiny, desperate sound of a baby finally getting what she needed, hit Cole like a fist to the gut. He dropped to his knees without meaning to, hands pressed flat against the floorboards, and shook. Not crying. Men didn't cry. But shaking. The woman didn't look at him, just kept her eyes on Rose, rocking slow in the chair, one hand cupped around the baby's head. "What's her name?" she asked after a while. "Rose." His voice sounded like gravel. "Pretty name. My wife picked it. She the one buried out by the creek?" "Yeah." The woman nodded, kept rocking. Outside, the wind tried to tear the world apart. Inside, Rose nursed. Cole didn't know how long they sat there. An hour, maybe 2. Time went strange when you'd been awake too long, when fear finally loosened its grip and left you hollow. Eventually, Rose fell asleep. The woman eased her back, buttoned her dress with one hand while holding the baby with the other, and stood. She was taller than Cole had realized. 5'10", maybe. Built solid, with the kind of strength that came from hauling water and chopping wood and doing 100 other things men like to pretend women couldn't do. "She needs to eat every few hours," the woman said. "I can come back in the morning if—" "Stay." The word came out too fast, too desperate. Cole stood wiping his face with his sleeve. "Please, I got a spare room. Ain't much, but it's warm. I can't— If she wakes up and needs—" He couldn't finish. The woman studied him for a long moment. Then she looked around the cabin, the cold fireplace, the empty shelves, the dishes piled in the basin, the mess of a man barely holding on. "All right," she said finally, "but just tonight. I got my own place to tend." "Thank you. Don't thank me yet." She handed Rose back to him. The baby felt heavier now, more solid, and turned toward the door. "Wait," Cole said. "I don't— What's your name?" The woman paused with her hand on the door frame. "Clara," she said. "Clara Bennett." Then she went outside to fetch her things. Clara didn't have much. A canvas pack with a change of clothes, some hard biscuits wrapped in cloth, and a wool blanket that had seen better days. She set it all down in the spare room, barely more than a closet with a cot, and didn't complain. Just asked where she could hang her wet things to dry. Cole showed her. They didn't talk much after that. What was there to say? She'd come out of a storm to save his daughter's life, and now she was standing in his dead wife's kitchen, looking at him like she was trying to figure out if he was going to break. He probably was. "You should sleep," Clara said. She'd taken Rose from him again. The baby had woken hungry, and Clara fed her without fuss, and was settling back into the rocking chair. "I'll watch her tonight." "You don't have to eat." "You're dead on your feet. When's the last time you slept more than an hour?" Cole couldn't remember. "Go," Clara said. Not mean, just firm. The way you talk to a spooked horse. "If she needs you, I'll wake you." He went. Didn't mean to sleep. Meant to just lie down for a minute, catch his breath. But the bed, Elena's bed, their bed, swallowed him whole, and he was gone before he could fight it. He dreamed about Elena. Not the Elena who'd died. The one from before. The one who'd laugh at his terrible jokes and steal bites of his dinner and dance with him in the kitchen when there was no music playing. The one who'd made him believe he could be something other than angry. In the dream, she was standing by the creek, water running over her bare feet, and she was smiling. "You did good," she said. He woke up crying. Gray light filtered through the window. Morning. He'd slept the whole night. Cole stumbled out of the bedroom, panic clawing up his throat, and stopped dead. Clara was still in the rocking chair. Rose was asleep against her shoulder. And Clara was asleep too. Head tipped back, mouth open slightly, one hand resting on Rose's back. Her blonde hair had dried overnight into a tangled mess, and there were dark circles under her eyes, and her dress was still wrinkled from the storm. She looked exhausted. She looked beautiful. Cole shook his head hard. Stupid thought. Dangerous thought. He crossed the room quiet as he could and started building up the fire. The cabin was freezing. He'd let it go out sometime in the night, and his breath fogged in the air. He got kindling lit, added logs, and was reaching for the coffee pot when Clara stirred. "Morning," she said. Her voice was thick with sleep. "Morning. You want coffee?" Is it even a question? He almost smiled. While the coffee brewed, Clara fed Rose again. The baby was stronger now, latching faster, drinking longer. Cole watched from the corner of his eye while he fried up some bacon and eggs. Wasn't much, but it was something. They ate in silence, not uncomfortable silence, just quiet. The kind that happens when two people are too tired to make conversation and too relieved to care. "Thank you," Cole said eventually. Clara looked at him over the rim of her cup. "For what?" "For this. For her. For—" He gestured helplessly. "All of it." "You already thanked me." "Yeah, well, ain't enough." Clara set down her cup. "Your girl was dying. I had milk she needed. Wasn't a hard choice." "Still," she shrugged, that same one-shoulder movement from last night, like gratitude made her uncomfortable. They finished breakfast. Clara burped Rose and laid her back in the cradle, tucking the blankets around her with careful hands. Then she straightened, brushed off her skirt, and turned to Cole. "I should head back," she said. "My place ain't gonna run itself." "Right. Of course." She gathered her things from the spare room. Cole watched her pack, trying to think of something to say that didn't sound desperate or pathetic or like he was begging her to stay. He failed. "If you wanted to come back," he said. "Later, to check on her. I'd pay you. Whatever you need." Clara paused with her hand on the door latch. "I don't want your money," she said. "Then what?" "Nothing." She looked back at him. "I don't want nothing, Cole. But I'll come back tomorrow. Make sure she's eating all right." Relief hit him like whiskey. "Thank you." Clara nodded once, then stepped out into the morning. Cole watched her walk away, broad back, steady stride, not hurrying despite the cold, until she disappeared over the ridge. Then he closed the door and looked at Rose. "Guess it's just us again, baby girl," he said. But it didn't feel true anymore. Clara came back the next day. And the day after that. And the day after that. At first, it was just to feed Rose. She'd show up around midday, stay for an hour or two, then head back to her own place before dark. They didn't talk much. Clara would nurse the baby, maybe eat something if Cole offered, then leave. But Rose kept getting stronger. Color came back to her cheeks. She started making sounds, Not quite crying, not quite cooing, just baby noises that meant she was alive and aware and present in the world. Her eyes tracked movement. Her little fists opened and closed. She gained weight. She was going to live. Cole didn't know what to do with that information. He'd been so sure he was going to lose her, had been preparing himself for it, building walls around the grief he knew was coming, and now those walls didn't fit anymore. He felt raw, exposed, like he'd been braced for a blow that never landed. Clara seemed to understand. She didn't push, didn't ask questions, just showed up, did what needed doing, and left him alone. It was exactly what he needed. But after a week, something changed. Clara arrived just before noon like always, but this time she was carrying a basket. Cole opened the door and stared at it. "What's that?" "Food," Clara said. She pushed past him into the cabin. "You've been feeding that girl eggs and bacon for 7 days straight. She needs vegetables." "She's 3 months old. She doesn't eat vegetables." "You do." Clara set the basket on the table and started unpacking. Carrots, potatoes, onions, a loaf of bread that smelled like heaven, some kind of dried meat wrapped in cloth. Clara, don't. She held up a hand. "I got more than I need, and it'll just go bad. So you're going to take it, and you're going to eat it, and you're not going to argue." Cole shut his mouth. She fed Rose first, that was always first, then started making stew, just like that, like it was normal, like she'd done it 100 times before. Cole sat at the table and watched her move around the kitchen. She was efficient, no wasted motion. Chopped the vegetables quick and even, got the pot going, added spices from little pouches she'd brought with her. Within 20 minutes, the cabin smelled better than it had in months. "You don't have to do this," Cole said. "I know. I mean it. You got your own life, your own place. I can't keep—" "Can't keep what?" Clara looked at him. "Taking my help? Why not?" "Because it ain't fair to you." "Fair?" She laughed, but there wasn't much humor in it. "Life ain't fair, Cole. Fair would have been my boy living. Fair would have been your wife surviving childbirth. Fair would have been a lot of things that didn't happen. So don't talk to me about fair." He didn't have an answer for that. They ate when the stew was ready. It was good, better than good. The kind of meal that reminded you food could be more than fuel. "Where'd you learn to cook like this?" Cole asked. "My ma. She ran a boarding house in Kansas before—" Clara trailed off. Before? Before what? Before everything went to shit. She didn't elaborate. They finished eating in silence. Clara cleaned up without being asked, washed the dishes in the basin, then picked up Rose and settled into the rocking chair. "You should fix that fence," she said. Cole blinked. "What?" "The fence by the barn. It's falling over. You got cattle up in the high pastures that are going to wander off if you don't bring them down soon, and you can't do that with a broken fence." "I know, I just been busy. I know." Clara shifted Rose to her other arm. "But winter's ending. You got work to do." She was right. He hated that she was right. "All right," Cole said. "I'll fix it." "Good." He went outside and fixed the damn fence. It became a pattern. Clara would show up, feed Rose, cook something, then point out whatever was falling apart and needed attention. And Cole, because he was tired and grateful, and because she was right, would do it. The barn door got rehung, the chimney got cleaned, the woodpile got restocked, the cabin stopped looking like a place where hope went to die. And somewhere in the middle of all that work, Clara stopped leaving before dark. It happened gradual. She'd stay for dinner, then she'd stay until Rose fell asleep. Then she'd say it was too late to walk back in the dark, and Cole would offer her the spare room, and she'd accept. One night became 2 nights. 2 became 3. By the end of the second week, Clara's things were permanently in the spare room and neither of them mentioned it. They'd fallen into a routine. Cole would wake early, get the fire going, start coffee. Clara would wake shortly after, feed Rose, then make breakfast. They'd eat together. Cole would head out to work on whatever part of the ranch needed fixing. Clara would stay inside with Rose, cleaning or mending or doing the 1,000 small things that kept a household running. They'd meet for lunch, then back to work, then dinner, then sitting by the fire while Rose slept. It was domestic. It was comfortable. It scared the hell out of Cole, because every day Clara became more essential, more woven into the fabric of his life. And every day he felt Elena's absence a little less sharply. That felt like betrayal. One night, he said so. They were sitting by the fire, Clara in the rocking chair with Rose, Cole on the floor with his back against the wall, and he just said it. I feel like I'm forgetting her. Clara didn't respond right away, just kept rocking, kept looking at Rose. You're not, she said finally. How do you know? Because I see the way you look at that cradle, the way you touch things she made. You ain't forgetting. Clara paused. You're just learning how to live again. There's a difference. Doesn't feel different. No, I don't imagine it does. Cole picked at a loose thread on his pants. You ever feel like that? About your boy? Every damn day. How do you... His voice cracked. How do you keep going? Clara finally looked at him. Her pale eyes caught the firelight, turned them almost gold. Because stopping don't bring them back, she said quietly. And because your girl needs me, needs you, so we get up, we do the work, we keep going. That simple? That simple. That hard? They sat in silence after that. The fire crackled. Rose breathed. Outside, something, a coyote maybe, howled in the distance. Thank you, Cole said, for being here, for all of this. Clara smiled, small and sad. You already thanked me. Yeah, well, ain't enough. This time, she didn't shrug. The Valley started talking in March. Cole heard it first from Tom Henderson, the nearest neighbor. Tom was a decent enough man, helped out when he could, didn't ask too many questions, but his wife Sarah had a tongue that could strip paint. Tom came by to drop off some supplies he'd picked up in town, and while they were unloading the wagon, he said, Heard you got someone staying with you. Cole's hand stilled on a flour sack. Yeah, Clara Bennett. She's helping with Rose. That the woman from the Bennett place? Big gal? The way Tom said big made Cole's jaw tighten. She's helping with my daughter, Cole repeated. Right. Sure. Tom shifted uncomfortably. Just, people are talking is all. You know how it is. No, I don't. What are they saying? Nothing bad, just wondering about the arrangement. The arrangement, Cole said flatly, is that my daughter would have died without Clara's help. So whatever people are wondering, they can stop. Tom held up his hands. Hey, I ain't saying nothing. Just giving you a heads up. You know how this valley is. People got opinions. People can keep their opinions to themselves. But Tom's warning stuck in Cole's head. That night, he mentioned it to Clara. She was washing dishes, Rose asleep in the cradle nearby, and when Cole told her what Tom had said, she went very still. People are talking, she repeated. Tom says it's nothing. Just talk. It's never just talk. Clara set down the dish she was holding. I should go. What? No. Cole, you're not leaving because a bunch of bored ranchers got nothing better to do than gossip. It ain't about gossip. Clara turned to face him. Her expression was hard, closed off. It's about what happens when gossip turns into something worse. What's that supposed to mean? It means I know how this works. I'm a big woman living in a widower's house. That's all people need to start saying things, making assumptions. Let them assume. I don't care. You should. Clara wiped her hands on her apron. Because it won't just be about me. It'll be about you. About Rose. And I won't be responsible for ruining what's left of your life. Cole crossed the room in 3 strides. You haven't ruined anything, he said. You saved everything. So if people want to talk, let them. But you're not leaving. Clara looked up at him. She was tall, but he was taller, and for a moment they just stood there, too close, breathing hard. Why? She asked quietly. Why what? Why do you care? I'm just... Don't. Cole's voice came out rougher than he meant. Don't say you're just anything. You're Rose's... You're... He couldn't finish, didn't know how to. Clara's expression softened. Just a little. I'll stay, she said. For now. But if it gets bad, it won't. Cole, it won't, he said again. Like saying it enough times would make it true. Clara didn't argue, but she didn't look convinced either. Hulk. The talk got worse. Cole heard it in town when he went to buy supplies. Whispers that stopped when he walked past. Looks that lasted too long. Old Mrs. Patterson actually crossed the street to avoid him. He ignored it. But then the ranch hands started. Cole had hired 2 men for spring work, fixing fences, moving cattle, all the jobs that needed extra hands. They were good workers, kept their heads down, did the job. Until one afternoon, Cole came back from checking the northern pasture and heard them talking by the barn. Staying in the house with him, you know what that means. Man's lonely, can't blame him. Could have picked someone prettier, though. That Bennett woman's built like a... Cole rounded the corner. Both men went silent. Something funny? Cole asked. The younger one, kid named Danny, maybe 20, had the sense to look embarrassed. The other one, Jake, just smirked. Just making conversation, boss. About my personal business? Didn't mean nothing by it. Cole stepped closer. You got something to say about Clara. You say it to my face. Jake's smirk faded. Easy, Cole, we're just... What? Just what? Noticing things, that's all. Then stop noticing. Cole's voice dropped. And get back to work. Both of you. They went. But Cole stood there for a long time after, hands clenched into fists, shaking with anger he had nowhere to put. That night, he didn't tell Clara what he'd heard, but she knew anyway. It's getting bad, isn't it? She said. They were sitting by the fire. Rose was asleep. The cabin was quiet. No. Cole? I said no. He didn't look at her. Couldn't. I don't care what they say. You should. This valley, these people, they're all you got. You burn those bridges, and you're alone out here. I'm not alone. The words hung between them. Clara was quiet for a long moment. Then, I'll leave in the morning. No. This isn't your choice. Like hell it isn't. Cole turned to face her. You think I'm going to let you walk away because a bunch of small-minded assholes can't mind their own business? You think I'm going to... It's not about them. Clara stood up fast enough that the rocking chair banged against the wall. It's about me. About what I can live with. What does that mean? It means I've spent my whole life being the thing people laugh at. The fat girl. The big woman. The one men look through instead of at. And I'm tired, Cole. I'm so damn tired of being someone's joke. Her voice cracked on the last word. Cole stood too. You're not a joke. Not to me. Then what am I? The question hit like a punch. What was she? The woman who'd saved his daughter. The person who'd put his house back together. The first thing he thought about in the morning and the last thing he thought about at night. The person who made him feel something other than grief. You're Clara, he said finally, helplessly. You're just... Clara. She laughed, bitter and broken. That's not an answer. It's the only one I got. They stared at each other across the firelit room. Outside, the wind picked up. Spring storms were coming. You could feel it in the air. I'll stay tonight, Clara said quietly. But tomorrow we'll figure it out. Cole, please. It was the please that did it. Clara's shoulders sagged. She sat back down in the rocking chair, suddenly looking older than her years. All right, she said, tomorrow. But Cole knew it in the way she wouldn't meet his eyes, knew it in the set of her jaw. Tomorrow, she was gone. He didn't sleep that night, just lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the cabin settle. Around 3 a.m, he heard Clara get up to feed Rose, heard the soft sounds of her moving around the kitchen, heard her crying, quiet crying, the kind you do when you don't want anyone to hear. Cole got up, found her sitting at the table with Rose in her arms, tears running down her face in the lamplight. Clara? She looked up, didn't bother wiping her eyes. I can't do this, she said. Do what? Leave her, leave you, but I can't stay either, so I'm just stuck. Cole sat down across from her. Then don't choose. What? Don't choose, just stay for one more day, and then one more after that, and we'll figure out the rest as we go. That's not how life works. Why not? Clara laughed, wet and ragged. Because people don't just get to be happy, Cole. Not people like us. We get scraps. We get by. But we don't get Don't get what? She looked at him, really looked. Her pale eyes were red-rimmed and exhausted and full of something he couldn't name. This, she whispered. The word hung in the air between them. This, this cabin, this baby, this strange, fragile thing they'd built without meaning to. This. Cole reached across the table, put his hand over hers where it rested on Rose's back. Why not? He said again. Clara closed her eyes. Because it'll hurt worse when it ends. What if it doesn't end? Everything ends. Clara, everything, she said firmly. My boy ended. Your wife ended. This'll end too. And I can't. She broke off. Cole squeezed her hand. Stay, he said. Please. Just stay. For a long time, Clara didn't respond, just sat there crying silently with Rose sleeping against her chest and Cole's hand covering hers. Then finally, okay? Not I'll stay. Not I promise, just okay. But it was enough. By April, the Valley had made up its mind about Clara Bennett. She was a scandal, a shame, a woman who'd moved into a dead wife's house and taken over like she had the right. The whispers became shouts. Sarah Henderson stopped by one afternoon, not to visit, but to deliver a message from concerned neighbors. She stood on the porch with her arms crossed and told Clara, straight to her face, that decent women didn't live in sin. Clara shut the door on her, but the message was clear. People were watching, people were judging, and people had decided. Cole tried to shield her from it. When they went to town, which wasn't often, he'd walk beside her with his jaw set and his hand on his pistol like he was daring someone to say something. No one did. Not to his face. But the looks continued, the crossed streets, the turned backs. It wore on Clara. Cole could see it in the way she moved through the house. Quieter, more careful, like she was trying to take up less space. Could see it in the way she'd flinch when Rose cried, like she expected someone to come and take the baby away. Could see it in the way she'd stopped meeting his eyes. One night in late April, Cole found her packing. He'd gone out to check on a fence post and came back to find her in the spare room, stuffing clothes into her canvas pack. What are you doing? Clara didn't turn around. What's it look like? It looks like you're running. I'm leaving. There's a difference. No, there's not. Cole crossed the room and put his hand on her pack. What happened? Nothing happened. Liar? Clara jerked away from him. Fine. You want to know what happened? Mrs. Patterson stopped me outside the general store, called me a whore, said I was corrupting your daughter, said if I had any decency I'd leave before I ruined your life completely. Cole's vision went red. That old bitch. She's right. The word stopped him cold. What? She's right, Clara repeated. She was shaking. I am ruining your life. You had friends here, respect. And now you got nothing because of me. I don't care. Well, I do, Clara's voice cracked. I care, Cole, because I've been the person everyone looks down on my whole damn life. And I thought maybe here, with you, it'd be different, but it's not. It never is. So I'm leaving before it gets worse. It's not going to get worse. You don't know that. I do. Cole grabbed her shoulders, made her look at him. Because I'm not letting them run you off. You hear me? I don't care what they say. I don't care what they think. You stay. Why? Clara's eyes were full of tears. Why does it matter so much? Because I love you. The thought came so clear and sudden it knocked the breath out of him. He loved her, not the way he'd loved Elena. Elena had been sunlight and laughter and everything good in the world. Clara was something different, stronger, steadier, the kind of love that didn't burn bright and fast, but glowed low and constant, keeping you warm through the winter. He loved her, and he hadn't even realized it until this moment. Because you're family, he said instead. You and Rose, you're my family. Clara stared at him. Cole, stay, please. She searched his face for something. He didn't know what. Then, slowly, she nodded. All right, she whispered. I'll stay. Cole pulled her into a hug. She tensed for just a second, then melted against him, and they stood there in the spare room holding each other while the last light faded outside. Thank you, he said into her hair. Clara laughed, wet and shaky. You already thanked me. Yeah, well, ain't enough. This time she hugged him tighter. That night, a storm came. Not unusual for April. Spring in the mountains meant weather that couldn't make up its mind. But this one was bad. Wind that screamed down from the peaks, Snow that came sideways, the kind of storm that made you wonder if the cabin would still be standing in the morning. Cole and Clara sat by the fire with Rose between them, listening to the world try to tear itself apart. "Hell of a night," Cole said. "Yeah." They'd been quiet since the hug, not uncomfortable, just careful, like they'd both said too much and not enough, and neither of them knew what came next. Rose fussed. Clara picked her up, started nursing her. "She's getting big," Cole said. "Kids do that." "Yeah." More silence. Then Clara said, "I'm scared." Cole looked at her. "Of what?" "This us. All of it." She kept her eyes on Rose. "I'm scared I'm going to wake up one morning and you're going to realize you made a mistake. That I'm not what you need, that I'm just temporary. Clara, I know what I am, Cole. I'm not pretty. I'm not delicate. I'm just big and useful, and I'm scared that's all I am to you. Useful." Cole moved from his chair to kneel in front of her. "Look at me." She did, reluctant. "You saved my daughter's life," Cole said. "You put my house back together. You made me remember how to be human. You think that's just useful?" "I don't know what it is. It's everything." He put his hand over hers. "You're everything." Clara's breath hitched. "Don't say things you don't mean." "I mean it." "Cole, I mean it," he said again, fiercer. "And I don't care what this valley thinks. I don't care what anyone thinks. You're staying, not because Rose needs you, because I need you." Tears spilled down Clara's cheeks. "You can't," her voice broke. "You can't say things like that." "Why not?" "Because I'll believe you." "Good." He kissed her then, leaned up and kissed her hard and desperate, and she made a sound in her throat, surprise maybe, or relief, and kissed him back. Rose squirmed between them. They broke apart, both breathing hard. "We can't," Clara started. "Why not?" "Because," she gestured helplessly. "Because." "That's not a reason." "It's the only one I got." Cole smiled. "You said that to me once." "Did I?" "Yeah. First night you stayed." Clara laughed, small and wet. "Feels like 100 years ago." "Feels like yesterday." They sat there in the firelight with Rose nursing and the storm raging outside, and Cole thought, This is what I want. Not just for tonight, for every night, forever." But he didn't say it, not yet. There'd be time. The storm lasted 3 days. By the time it cleared, the valley was buried under 4 feet of fresh snow, and half the fences on Mercer Ranch were down. Cole and Clara spent a week digging out, fixing what could be fixed, making lists of what couldn't. Rose stayed bundled by the fire, growing fatter and happier by the day. They didn't talk about the kiss, didn't talk about what Cole had said, just worked. But something had shifted. Clara stopped sleeping in the spare room, didn't move into Cole's room, not yet, but she'd fall asleep by the fire most nights, and Cole would carry her to bed. His bed, and she'd wake up in his arms and not pull away. Small steps, careful steps, but steps forward. By mid-May, the valley had started to thaw, both literally and figuratively. Tom Henderson came by with an apology from his wife, said Sarah felt bad about what she'd said and wanted to make amends. Clara told him to tell Sarah she could shove her amends. Tom laughed so hard he nearly fell off his horse. Other neighbors followed. Not all of them, but enough. Enough to make Clara stop looking over her shoulder every time she went outside. Enough to make her believe, maybe, that she could stay. One afternoon in June, Cole was fixing a section of fence when he heard hoofbeats. He looked up to see Clara riding toward him on their old mare, Rose strapped to her chest in a sling Clara had made from one of Elena's dresses. "What are you doing?" Cole called. "Bringing you lunch." Clara reined in the horse, grinning. Her face was flushed, her hair escaping its braid. She looked happy. She looked home. Cole helped her down, took Rose, and kissed Clara in the middle of the pasture with the sun shining and the mountains watching. "What was that for?" Clara asked. "Just because." "Just because?" "Just because." She smiled. "You're getting soft, Mercer." "Yeah, I am." They ate lunch sitting in the grass while Rose kicked her feet and made noises at the sky. "You ever think about the future?" Clara asked. "Like what?" "Like this. Us. What it looks like a year from now. 5 years? 10. Cole thought about it. Yeah, I think about it. And? And I want you here. I want Rose to grow up calling you Ma. I want... He stopped, looked at her. I want to marry you. Clara froze. What? I want to marry you, Cole repeated. If you'll have me. Cole, I know it's fast, I know it's complicated, but I don't care. I want you to stay. Not as help. Not as... whatever. As my wife. Clara stared at him. You're serious. Dead serious. Cole, She looked down at her hands. I'm not Elena. I know. And I never will be. I know that too. He reached over, took her hand. I don't want you to be Elena. I want you to be Clara. My Clara. Tears welled in her eyes. I don't know what to say. Say yes. It's not that simple. Why not? Because people will... I don't care what people will do. I care what you'll do. Clara looked at him for a long moment, then at Rose, then back at him. Yes, she said quietly. Yeah? Yes. Stronger now. Yes, I'll marry you. Cole kissed her again, hard enough that they both fell back into the grass, laughing, while Rose shrieked with delight. And somewhere above them, the mountains stood silent and approving, like they'd been waiting for this all along. Hulk. They married in August. Small ceremony. Just Tom and a few other neighbors who'd come around. The preacher from Bridger's Point, Rose, who spent the whole thing trying to eat Clara's bouquet. Clara wore blue, not white, said she didn't feel right wearing white after everything, and Cole thought she'd never looked more beautiful. When the preacher asked if anyone objected, Sarah Henderson stood up. The whole room went silent. Then Sarah said, I objected once. I was wrong. These two belong together, and sat back down. Clara cried through the whole ceremony. So did Cole. Afterward, there was food and music and dancing. Tom played fiddle. Some of the ranch hands got drunk and sang songs that made Clara blush. Rose passed from person to person, happy and fat and loved. As the sun set, Cole and Clara stood on the porch and watched their neighbors leave. Think we did all right? Clara asked. Better than all right. She leaned against him. I love you, you know. It was the first time she'd said it out loud. Cole's throat tightened. I love you too. Even though Don't. He turned her to face him. Don't finish that sentence. You're perfect, exactly as you are. Clara smiled. You're a terrible liar. I'm not lying. Cole, I'm not. He cupped her face. You're strong. You're kind. You saved my daughter. You saved me. You're perfect. She kissed him then, slow and deep. When they broke apart, she said, Take me to bed, husband. So he did. Their first year of marriage wasn't the fairy tale people wrote about in books. It was harder than that. Messier, more real. Clara woke most mornings to Rose crying and Cole already gone to the fields. She'd stumble out of bed with her hair tangled and her back aching, nurse the baby, then start on breakfast before the sun had fully cleared the mountains. By the time Cole came in for lunch, she'd have already done 3 loads of washing, mended 2 shirts, churned butter, and started dinner. Her hands were always raw. Her feet always hurt. And some days she was so tired she could barely see straight. But she was happy. Not the bright burning kind of happy. The steady kind. The kind that settles in your bones and stays. Cole wasn't perfect either. He had moods. Days where he'd barely speak, just work himself into the ground, and come home silent and distant. Days where he'd snap at nothing and apologize hours later. Days where he'd stare at Elena's grave by the creek, and Clara would have to decide whether to go to him or leave him alone. She usually left him alone. It wasn't jealousy. Clara understood grief. Knew it didn't just disappear because you loved someone new. She'd loved her boy, still loved him, still thought about him every time she fed Rose. And that didn't make her love for Cole any less. Grief and love could live in the same house. They had to. By October, Rose was taking her first steps. Wobbly, uncertain things that usually ended with her falling on her bottom and laughing. Clara would clap and Cole would scoop her up, both of them grinning like idiots. She's going to be walking by Christmas, Cole said one night. They were sitting by the fire. Rose was asleep in the cradle Cole had moved into their bedroom. Clara was mending one of his shirts. He'd torn it on barbed wire again. And Cole was oiling his rifle. "Probably running," Clara said. "Girl's got your stubborn streak." "My stubborn streak? She gets that from you." "I'm not stubborn. You literally argued with a horse last week." "That horse was being unreasonable." Cole laughed. The sound still surprised Clara sometimes. He didn't laugh much. Grief had carved that out of him. But when he did, it was real. "What?" Clara asked. "Nothing. Just, I'm glad you're here." "Where else would I be?" "I don't know. Somewhere easier. Somewhere people don't stare at you in town." Clara set down her mending. "Cole, I'm serious. You could have left a dozen times. Should have left. But you didn't." "No, I didn't." "Why?" She looked at him. Really looked. His hair was getting longer, needed a cut. His beard was coming in gray at the edges. He had new lines around his eyes from squinting into the sun all day. He looked older than when they'd met. He looked like home. "Because I love you," Clara said simply, "and because leaving would hurt worse than staying." Cole was quiet for a moment, then, "Even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." He crossed the room and kissed her, slow and deliberate, like he was trying to memorize the taste of her. "What was that for?" Clara asked when they broke apart. "Just because." "Just because?" "Just because." She smiled against his mouth. "You keep saying that." "Because I keep meaning it." They made love that night with the fire burning low and Rose sleeping soundly and the mountain standing guard outside. Afterward, Clara lay with her head on Cole's chest, listening to his heartbeat, and thought, "This is enough. Not perfect, but enough. More than enough." The valley settled into winter. Snow came early and stayed late. Cole spent most days tending the cattle, making sure they had enough feed, checking for injuries or sickness. Clara kept the house running, kept Rose fed and warm, kept the loneliness at bay. Because it was lonely sometimes. The nearest neighbor was 3 miles away. The nearest town was 10. Clara would go weeks without seeing another woman, without having a conversation that wasn't with a baby or a man who was too tired to talk much. She missed female friendship, missed the easy comfort of women who understood things without needing explanation. But Sarah Henderson had tried. Sarah showed up one December afternoon with a basket of preserves and an awkward smile. "Thought you might like these," Sarah said. She stood on the porch looking uncomfortable. "Made too much. Tom says I always make too much." Clara took the basket. "Thank you. And I wanted to say I'm sorry for what I said before. About you and Cole. I was wrong. You were." Sarah flinched. "I know, I grew up thinking certain things were right and certain things were wrong, and I didn't think before I spoke." "No, you didn't." They stood there in the cold. Sarah shifted her weight. "I'd like to make it up to you," Sarah said finally. "If you'd let me. Maybe you could come by sometime, for tea, or I could come here. If you want company." Clara wanted to say no. Wanted to tell Sarah that words like the ones she'd used couldn't be taken back with preserves and an apology. But she was lonely, and Sarah looked genuinely sorry. "All right," Clara said, "tea would be nice." Sarah's face brightened. "Really? Really? But if you say one more thing about my weight or my place here, we're done, understand?" "I understand." "Good." Sarah came by the following week, then the week after that. Eventually, it became a routine. Every Thursday, Sarah would ride over with her knitting and they'd sit by the fire while Rose played and they'd talk. About nothing important. About everything important. Sarah told Clara about her 3 miscarriages. About the baby she'd carried to term, who died at 6 months. About the grief that never really left, just learned to live in the corners. Clara told Sarah about her son. About holding him while he was still warm, knowing he'd never cry or laugh or call her Ma. They cried together. And slowly, carefully, they became friends. Cole noticed the change. "You seem happier," he said one night. "I am." "Good. You deserve happy." Clara kissed his cheek. "So do you." "Yeah, I'm getting there." Christmas came quiet and simple. Cole cut down a small pine tree, and Clara decorated it with strings of dried berries and paper stars she'd cut from old newspaper. Rose was fascinated by the candles, kept trying to grab them until Clara moved them higher. They didn't have much money for gifts. Cole gave Clara a new shawl he'd bought in town, soft blue wool that matched her eyes. Clara gave Cole a new shirt she'd sewn, with his initials embroidered on the pocket. "You didn't have to do that," Cole said. "I wanted to." Clara said, "Hush. Just say thank you." He pulled her close instead. "Thank you." They spent Christmas Day inside, away from the cold. Cole read to Rose from a book of fairy tales. She didn't understand the words, but liked the sound of his voice. Clara made roast chicken with all the fixings. They ate too much and sat by the fire until Rose fell asleep between them. "Best Christmas I've had in years," Cole said quietly. "Me too." "You think next year will be easier?" "Probably not, but we'll manage." "Yeah, we will." But January brought trouble. It started with the cattle. Cole went out to check on them one morning and came back looking grim. "What's wrong?" Clara asked. "Found 3 dead. Frozen. Must have gotten separated from the herd during that storm last week." "Can we afford to lose 3? "Not really, but it's done now." He didn't eat much breakfast, just pushed his eggs around his plate and stared at nothing. "Cole, I'm fine." "You're not." "Clara, I said I'm fine." She let it go. But over the next few weeks, more cattle died. Then one of the horses got sick. Then part of the roof started leaking, and Cole had to patch it in freezing rain. Money got tight, real tight. Clara started rationing their supplies, making meals stretch further. She stopped buying sugar, started using older flour, made do with less. Cole noticed. "You don't have to do that," he said. "Do what?" "Starve yourself so Rose and I can eat." "I'm not starving." "You're eating half portions." "I'm eating enough." "Clara, Cole, we don't have money for extra, so I'm making it work. That's what wives do. Not at the expense of their own health. I'm fine." But she wasn't. By February, Clara had lost weight. Not much. She was still a big woman, still solid and strong, but enough that her dresses hung loose and her face looked drawn. Cole hated it. Hated that he couldn't provide better. Hated that the woman who'd saved his daughter was going hungry because he couldn't keep his ranch running. One night he said as much. They were lying in bed. Rose was asleep. Clara was pressed against his side, her breathing slow and even. "I'm failing you," Cole said into the dark. Clara stirred. "What?" "I'm failing you. Failing Rose. I can't keep this place running. Can't afford to feed us properly. Can't—" "Stop." "It's true." "It's not." Clara propped herself up on one elbow. "We're surviving. That's not failing. Barely. Barely is enough." "It shouldn't be," Clara sighed. "Cole, life is hard. It's always been hard. You think when I was growing up we had plenty? We didn't. We had enough. Some years we didn't even have that, but we got through. Just like we'll get through this. I wanted to give you more. You gave me a home, a family. That's more than I ever expected." Cole pulled her close. "I love you. I love you too. Now stop beating yourself up and go to sleep." He tried, but sleep didn't come easy. March brought a thaw. The snow started melting, revealing dead grass and mud and all the damage winter had done. Fences needed repairing, the barn needed new boards, half the tools were rusted from moisture. Cole worked dawn to dusk, trying to catch up. Clara helped when she could, hauling water and feeding livestock, and keeping Rose out of trouble. But Rose was walking now, running, really, and keeping track of her was a full-time job. One afternoon, Clara was in the garden trying to see if anything had survived the winter when she heard Rose scream. Not the normal scream, the scared scream. Clara dropped her spade and ran. Found Rose by the creek, 1 foot in the water, crying hysterically. "What happened?" Clara scooped her up. "What's wrong?" Rose just pointed. Clara looked. At first she didn't see it. Then she did. A snake, coiled on a rock. Not moving, but definitely alive. "It's okay," Clara said, backing away slowly. "It's okay, baby. We're fine." She got Rose back to the house and checked her over. No bites. No injuries. Just scared. Cole came in for lunch and found them both still shaking. "What happened?" Clara told him. Where was the snake? By the big rocks, near where Elena... She stopped. Cole's face went hard. Near the grave. Yeah. He grabbed his rifle. Cole, don't... But he was already gone. Clara heard the shot 5 minutes later, then another, then silence. Cole came back an hour later. Didn't say anything. Just washed his hands and sat down at the table. You didn't have to kill it, Clara said quietly. Yes, I did. Cole, it was near my daughter, near my wife's grave. I killed it. End of discussion. Clara didn't push. But she noticed him staring out the window toward the creek for the rest of the day. Noticed the way his jaw clenched, the way his hands fisted. That night, she found him sitting on the porch in the dark. You all right? She asked. No. At least he was honest. Clara sat down beside him. You want to talk about it? Not really. Cole, I'm not ready, Clara. I'm not ready. For what? To let her go. The confession hung between them. Clara understood. Elena's grave was right there, a constant reminder of what Cole had lost. Every time he looked at the creek, every time Rose played near it, he remembered. You don't have to let her go, Clara said carefully. She's Rose's mother. She'll always be Rose's mother. I'm not trying to replace her. I know. Do you? Cole looked at her. His eyes were wet. I love you, Clara. I do. But sometimes I look at Rose and I see Elena, and I feel like I'm betraying her by being happy with you. You're not. Feels like I am. Clara took his hand. Elena loved you. From what you've told me, she loved you more than anything. You think she'd want you to spend the rest of your life miserable? No, but nothing. She'd want you to live, to be happy, to give Rose a good life, and that's what you're doing. With you. With me. Cole was quiet for a long time. Then, I built that cradle for her. Did I tell you that? No? Spent 3 months on it, sanding it until my hands bled. She'd come out and watch me work, tell me I was being too particular, but I wanted it perfect, for our baby. Clara's throat tightened. And then she died, Cole continued. And I couldn't even look at the damn thing. Thought about burning it, but Rose needed it, so I kept it. Cole, and now you're the one using it. Rocking Rose in Elena's chair, wearing her dresses, living her life. The words hit like a slap. Clara stood up. Is that what you think? That I'm living her life? No, I didn't mean... Then what did you mean? Cole stood too. I don't know. I'm tired. I'm confused. I'm trying to figure out how to love you without feeling like I'm erasing her. You're not erasing her. It feels like I am. They stood there shouting at each other on the porch. Rose started crying inside. Clara turned to go to her, but Cole caught her arm. Wait. Let go. Clara, please. I'm sorry. I didn't mean... Didn't mean what? To tell me you feel guilty for loving me? To make me feel like I'm some kind of replacement? You're not a replacement. Then what am I, Cole? Because right now I don't know. His hand dropped. You're my wife. Am I? Because it sounds like I'm just keeping Elena's place warm until you figure out how to grieve properly. That's not fair. None of this is fair, Clara's voice cracked. I love you. I love Rose. I've given up everything to be here. And you're standing here telling me you feel guilty about it. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. She went inside. Cole stood on the porch for a long time. Then he followed. Found Clara in their bedroom, nursing Rose and crying silently. Clara, not now. I'm sorry. I know. I mean it. I know that too. She looked up at him. Her eyes were red. But sorry doesn't fix this, Cole. You need to figure out what you want. Because I can't keep wondering if you wish I was her. I don't. Yes, you do. Maybe not all the time, but sometimes. And I can't live like that. Cole sat down on the bed, put his head in his hands. What do you want me to do? I want you to decide, me or her. That's not... It is. Clara's voice was firm. I'm not asking you to forget Elena. I'm asking you to choose to be here. With me. Fully. Not halfway. Not with one foot in the past. Here. Clara, I'll give you time to think. But I need an answer, Cole. Because I can't do this anymore. She finished nursing Rose, put her in the cradle, and went to the spare room. Cole slept alone that night, and the night after that, and the night after that. By the end of the week, the whole ranch felt wrong. Cole worked like a man possessed. Clara moved through the house like a ghost. They spoke only when necessary, ate in silence, slept in separate rooms. Rose sensed the tension, got fussy and clingy, cried more than usual. Sarah noticed too. She came for their usual Thursday tea and found Clara alone, staring at nothing. "What happened?" Sarah asked. Clara told her. All of it. Sarah listened without interrupting. When Clara finished, she said, "Men are idiots." Despite everything, Clara laughed. "Yeah. He loves you. You know that, right?" "I do, but love isn't enough if he can't let go. Give him time." "I have been, but how much time is too much?" Sarah didn't have an answer for that. That night, Clara made dinner, stew, simple and filling, and set 3 places at the table. Cole came in, saw the 3rd plate, and looked at her. "Sit," Clara said. He sat. They ate in silence. Rose babbled in her high chair, smashing peas with her fists. When they finished, Clara cleared the plates and said, "I'm going to ask you a question, and I need you to answer honestly." "All right. Do you love me?" "Yes." "Are you in love with me? Or are you in love with the idea of not being alone?" Cole flinched. "That's not fair. Answer the question." He was quiet for a long time. Rose threw a piece of bread on the floor. Neither of them moved to pick it up. "I'm in love with you," Cole said finally. "I am. But I'm also grieving, and I don't know how to do both." "Then figure it out." Clara's voice was gentler now. "Because I need you to choose. Not tomorrow. Not next week. But soon. I can't keep living in Elena's shadow." "You're not—" "I am. Every time you look at her grave. Every time you touch something she made. Every time you compare us, even if you don't mean to. I feel it." Cole stood up, crossed to where she was standing by the basin. "I don't know how to stop," he said quietly. "Stop what?" "Hurting. Missing her. Feeling like I failed her." "You didn't fail her, Cole. She died. That's not your fault." "Feels like it is." Clara turned to face him. "Then let it go. Not the love, not the memories, but the guilt. Because it's killing you, and it's killing us." Cole pulled her into his arms, held her tight. "I'm trying," he whispered. "I swear I'm trying. I know. I don't want to lose you." "Then don't." They stood there in the kitchen, holding each other while Rose played and the fire crackled and the mountains watched through the window. It wasn't fixed, but it was a start. That night, Cole went to Elena's grave. He knelt in the mud by the creek and stared at the simple wooden cross he'd carved years ago. "I don't know how to do this," he said out loud. "I don't know how to love her without feeling like I'm betraying you." The wind rustled through the trees. "I think about you every day. Wonder what you'd say, what you'd do, if you'd hate me for moving on." No answer. "Clara's good. She's so damn good, Elena. And I love her. But I loved you too. I still love you. And I don't know how to make room for both." His voice cracked. "I need you to tell me it's okay. Tell me I'm not a bastard for being happy. Tell me—" He broke off, sat there in the dark, crying into his hands. Then he felt a hand on his shoulder. He looked up. Clara stood there in her nightgown, shawl wrapped around her shoulders. "You okay?" she asked. "No." "Come back to bed." "Clara, come back to bed, Cole, please." He stood, let her take his hand, let her lead him back to the cabin. They lay in bed together that night, not touching, just close. "Thank you," Cole said. "For what?" "For not leaving." "I'm not going anywhere." "Promise?" "Promise." He reached for her hand in the dark. She squeezed back. Outside, the creek ran cold and clear. The mountain stood silent. Elena's grave remained undisturbed. And inside the cabin, 2 broken people tried to figure out how to heal. It took weeks, slow, painful weeks, where Cole worked through his grief and Clara learned patience, and they both stumbled towards something resembling peace. Cole stopped going to the grave every day, started talking about Elena without his voice breaking, Started making plans that included Clara, real plans, future plans, not just survival. Clara stopped sleeping in the spare room, stopped waiting for him to decide. Started believing that maybe, just maybe, she deserved this. By April, things were better. Not perfect, but better. Cole came in from the fields one afternoon and found Clara in the kitchen, kneading bread with Rose at her feet. "Hey," he said. "Hey, yourself." He crossed the room and kissed her, long and deliberate. "What was that for?" Clara asked. "Because I love you, and because I'm choosing you every day for the rest of my life." Clara's eyes filled with tears. "You mean that?" "I do." "Cole, I'm sorry it took me so long to figure out, but I'm here now, fully here, and I'm not going anywhere." She kissed him again. Rose grabbed at their legs, wanting attention. Cole scooped her up. "What do you think, Rose? Should we keep this one?" Rose laughed and patted his face. "I think that's a yes," Clara said. "Me too." That night, Cole carved something into the doorframe of their bedroom. Clara found it the next morning. 2 sets of initials, CM plus CB, and below them, in smaller letters, forever. She traced the letters with her finger and smiled. Forever sounded good. Summer arrived with heat that made the valley shimmer, and days so long you forgot what darkness looked like. Clara spent most mornings in the garden, coaxing vegetables from soil that fought her every step of the way. Rose toddled after her, getting into everything, eating dirt, pulling up plants, chasing butterflies with sticky hands. "You're more trouble than you're worth," Clara told her, but she was smiling. Rose just laughed and shoved a fistful of grass in her mouth. By mid-June, things were finally looking up. The cattle were healthy, the crops were growing. Cole had found work helping Tom Henderson repair his barn, which meant extra money they desperately needed. Not much, but enough to buy sugar again, enough to stop rationing quite so hard. Clara made pie that night, apple, with a lattice crust that took her an hour to get right. Cole took one bite and closed his eyes. "This is the best thing I've ever tasted." "You say that about everything I cook." "Because it's always true." Clara shook her head, but she was pleased. She'd always loved cooking, loved the way food could make people happy, could turn a bad day good. Her ma had taught her that. Before everything fell apart in Kansas, before they'd lost the boarding house, before Clara had ended up here in Montana with nothing but grief and determination. She didn't think about Kansas much anymore. It hurt too much. But sometimes, late at night when she couldn't sleep, she'd remember her ma's hands kneading bread, her pa's laugh, her brother's stupid jokes. All gone now. Ma and pa dead from fever, her brother killed in a mining accident out in California. Clara was the only one left. "You all right?" Cole asked. She blinked. "Yeah, just thinking." "About what?" "Nothing important." But Cole knew her too well now. He reached across the table and took her hand. "Talk to me." "It's stupid." Clara said, "I was just thinking about my family, my real family, before." She pulled her hand back, started clearing dishes. "It's fine. I'm fine." Cole stood and blocked her path to the basin. "You're allowed to miss them." "I know." "And you're allowed to be sad about it." "I know that too." Clara looked up at him. "But if I start thinking too hard about everything I've lost, I'll never stop. So I don't. I just keep moving. That's not healthy. It's survival." They stared at each other. Then Cole pulled her into a hug, the kind that said more than words could. Clara let herself lean into him just for a moment before straightening up. "Come on, Rose needs a bath, and you need to fix that loose board on the porch before someone breaks their neck." "Yes, ma'am." But that night, lying in bed with Clara curled against his side, Cole said, "Tell me about them. Your family." "Cole, please, I want to know." So Clara told him about her ma, who could cook a meal for 30 people without breaking a sweat, about her pa, who'd loved terrible puns and could fix anything with his hands, about her brother Charlie, who'd been 6 years younger and followed her everywhere until the day he left for California. "He wrote me letters," Clara said quietly, "every month, telling me about the mines, about the men he worked with, about this girl he liked but was too scared to talk to. And then the letters stopped. I didn't know why until 6 months later when someone from his crew showed up at my door. I'm sorry. Yeah, me too. Is that why you came here? To Montana? Partly. After Charlie died, there wasn't anything keeping me in Kansas. Ma and Pa were gone. The boarding house had burned down. I had some money saved up, so I bought a homestead site unseen and came out here thinking I'd start over. And then you met your husband. Clara tensed. They rarely talked about him. Thomas Bennett, a man she'd married because she was lonely and he seemed decent enough. A man who'd turned cold the moment he realized she couldn't give him sons easily. A man who'd blamed her when their first baby was stillborn, then died himself falling off a horse 3 months later. She hadn't mourned him much. Yeah, Clara said. Then I met Thomas. Was he good to you? At first. Then, not so much. Cole was quiet. Then, did he hurt you? Not the way you're thinking. He made it very clear that I was a disappointment. Too big, too barren, too much of everything he didn't want. He was an idiot. Despite herself, Clara smiled. Yeah, he was. You know you're none of those things, right? You're not too big, you're not barren, and you're definitely not a disappointment. Cole, I mean it. You're perfect exactly as you are. Clara turned to face him in the dark. You don't have to say that. I'm not saying it because I have to. I'm saying it because it's true. She kissed him then, soft and slow, pouring everything she couldn't say into the press of her lips against his. When they broke apart, Cole said, I love you. I love you too. And for the first time in a long time, Clara believed it all the way down to her bones. But peace never lasted long in Frost Creek Valley. The trouble started in July. Clara was in town buying supplies when she overheard two women talking outside the general store. Living in sin for months before they finally married. And that baby, you know it's not really his wife's child. Well, of course not. Elena's been dead 2 years. That baby is Clara's. No, I heard it's Elena's. Born early, but Clara's been pretending. Clara dropped the bag of flowers she'd been holding. Both women turned and saw her. Their faces went white. Mrs. Mercer, one of them said, we were just spreading lies about me and my family? Clara's voice was cold. Yeah, I heard. We didn't mean... You meant exactly what you said. But let me make something very clear. Rose is Cole's daughter, Elena's daughter. I didn't give birth to her, but I've raised her since she was 3 months old. And if I hear either of you spreading rumors about her parentage again, we're going to have a problem. Understand? Both women nodded mutely. Clara picked up her flower, paid for her supplies, and left. But the damage was done. By the time she got home, she was shaking. Not from anger, though there was plenty of that, but from fear. Fear that the rumors would spread. Fear that someone would question Rose's legitimacy. Fear that after everything they'd built, it could all come crashing down because people couldn't mind their own business. Cole found her sitting on the porch, staring at nothing. What happened? She told him. His face went hard. Who was it? Doesn't matter. It does to me. Cole, let it go. The hell I will. No one talks about my family like that. And what are you going to do? Fight every person in this valley who has an opinion? Because there's a lot of them. Cole sat down beside her. I'll fight all of them if I have to. That's not how this works. Then how does it work? Clara was quiet for a long moment. Then, we ignore them. We keep our heads down. We raise Rose and run this ranch and don't give them anything else to talk about. That's not fair to you. Life's not fair, Cole. We've established that. Clara, I mean it. I'm tired of fighting. I just want to live our lives without everyone watching and judging and whispering behind our backs. Cole pulled her close. All right, we'll ignore them. Promise? Promise. But ignoring people was harder than it sounded. Every time they went to town, Clara felt eyes on her, heard the whispers, saw the looks. Some people were kind, Sarah Henderson, Tom, a few others who'd come around. But most weren't. Most still saw her as the interloper. The woman who'd stolen Elena's place. It wore on her. By August, Clara had stopped going to town altogether. She'd send Cole or make do with what they had. anything to avoid the stares and whispers. Sarah noticed. "You can't hide forever," she said one Thursday. They were sitting on Clara's porch, shelling peas while Rose napped inside. "I'm not hiding, I'm just choosing my battles." "That's the same thing." Clara didn't argue because Sarah was right. "I'm tired," Clara said finally. "I'm so tired of proving myself, of justifying my existence, of waiting for people to accept that I belong here." "So stop waiting." "What?" "Stop waiting for their approval. You don't need it. You got Cole. You got Rose. You got this ranch. That's enough." "Is it?" "It has to be." Clara looked out at the valley, the mountains rising in the distance, the creek running cold and clear, the land she'd learned to love despite everything. "Yeah," she said quietly. "I guess it does." That night she told Cole she wanted another baby. He was fixing a bridle, sitting by the fire with his hands working leather while Rose played with wooden blocks nearby. "What?" he said. "I want another baby. With you." Cole set down the bridle. "Clara, I know it's complicated. I know there are risks, but I want it. I want to have your child." "Why?" "Because I love you, because I want Rose to have a sibling, because—" She hesitated. "Because I need to know I can do it. After Thomas, after losing my boy, I need to know I can carry a baby to term and deliver it alive." Cole crossed to where she sat and knelt in front of her. "You don't have to prove anything." "I'm not trying to prove anything. I want this, Cole. Do you?" He searched her face, then, "Yeah, I do." "Really?" "Really." Clara pulled him up and kissed him hard. Rose looked up from her blocks and giggled. "What's so funny?" Cole asked. Rose just clapped her hands and went back to playing. They tried that night, and the night after, and the night after that. Nothing happened right away. Clara tried not to get discouraged, but it was hard. Every month that passed without pregnancy felt like another failure. Another reminder that maybe Thomas had been right. Maybe she was barren. But Cole never wavered. "It'll happen when it happens," he'd say. "What if it doesn't? Then we have Rose, and that's enough." "Is it? Really?" "Clara, I'd be happy with just you. Rose is a bonus. Another baby would be a bonus. But you're everything." She wanted to believe him. Most days she did. But some days, when she was alone in the house with nothing but her thoughts, the old fears crept back in. Fears that she wasn't enough. That Cole would eventually regret choosing her. That the valley was right about her. She never told Cole about those fears. Just buried them deep and kept moving. September brought the first frost. Cole spent long days bringing the cattle down from the high pastures. Clara started preserving vegetables, making sure they'd have enough to get through winter. Rose turned 1 year old. They celebrated with cake, lopsided and uneven because Clara had never been good at decorating, and presents. Cole had carved Rose a wooden horse. Clara had sewn her a new dress. Rose loved both, but was more interested in eating the cake with her hands. "She's got your appetite," Cole said. "She's got your stubbornness." "Fair enough." They watched Rose destroy the cake, smearing frosting everywhere, and laughed. "Think we're doing okay?" Clara asked. "At what?" "This, parenting, marriage, all of it." Cole considered. "Yeah, I think we're doing all right." "Just all right?" "Better than all right. We're doing good, Clara. Real good." She leaned against him. "I hope so." "I know so." But that night Clara woke to cramping. She lay in bed for a few minutes, trying to convince herself it was nothing, just her monthly cycle coming early, just stress. But the cramping got worse. She got up, went to the privy, and saw blood. Too much blood. Her hands started shaking. She'd been pregnant. She hadn't known. It had only been a few weeks, maybe a month, but she'd been pregnant. And now she wasn't. Clara sat in the privy and cried silently, one hand pressed against her mouth to keep from making noise. She didn't want to wake Cole. Didn't want to tell him. Didn't want to see the disappointment in his eyes when he realized she'd failed again. After a while, she cleaned herself up and went back to bed. Cole stirred when she slid under the covers. "You okay?" he mumbled. "Yeah, just needed the privy." "'Kay." He fell back asleep. Clara lay awake until dawn, one hand resting on her flat stomach, mourning a baby that had barely existed. She didn't tell Cole for 3 days. Couldn't find the words. Couldn't face the conversation. But on the fourth day, he cornered her in the kitchen. What's wrong? Nothing. Don't lie to me. Clara set down the dish she was washing. I was pregnant. Cole went very still. Was? I lost it a few days ago. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want you to be disappointed. Disappointed? Clara, why would I be disappointed? Because I can't even... Her voice cracked. I can't even carry a baby past a few weeks. Thomas was right. Don't. Cole crossed the room and gripped her shoulders. Don't you dare finish that sentence. You're not broken. You're not barren. Sometimes these things just happen. But what if they keep happening? What if I can never give you a child? Then we have Rose and each other, and that's enough. You keep saying that. Because I keep meaning it. He pulled her close. I love you. Not because you might give me more children. Not because you cook or clean or take care of this house. I love you because you're you. And that's never going to change. Clara buried her face in his chest and cried. He held her until she was done. Then he made her tea and they sat by the fire while Rose played and the mountains stood watch outside. I'm sorry, Clara said eventually. For what? For not telling you sooner. For, you don't have to apologize. You were hurting, I understand. Do you? Yeah, I do. They sat in silence for a while. Then Clara said, I want to keep trying, if that's okay. It's more than okay. Even if it doesn't work? Even if it doesn't work. She kissed him, soft and grateful. Thank you. For what? For not giving up on me. Never, Cole said. Not ever. October came cold and sharp. The leaves turned gold and red before falling in drifts that Rose loved to jump in. Clara started feeling better, physically and emotionally. The grief over the miscarriage faded to a dull ache she could live with. They kept trying for another baby. Not obsessively, just trying. And meanwhile, life went on. Cole fixed the barn roof. Clara put up the last of the preserves. Rose learned new words every day. Ma for Clara, da for Cole, no for everything else. They were almost happy. And then the storm came. Not the weather kind. The human kind. A man rode up to the ranch one afternoon in late October. Clara was hanging laundry when she saw him coming, tall, lean, with a face that looked like it had seen too much sun and not enough kindness. Help you? She called. The man dismounted. Looking for Cole Mercer. He's out with the cattle. Should be back around supper time. I'll wait. Something about the way he said it made Clara's skin crawl. Who should I say is calling? Name's William Cross. Tell him I'm here about his debts. Clara's stomach dropped. Debts? The money he borrowed last spring to buy feed for his cattle. It's overdue. I don't know anything about that. Well, your husband does, and I'm here to collect. Clara wanted to argue, wanted to tell this man to leave, but something in his eyes said that would be a bad idea. I'll tell him you're here, she said instead. William Cross tied his horse to the fence post and settled in to wait. Clara went inside and tried not to panic. Cole had borrowed money? Why hadn't he told her? How much had he borrowed? And more importantly, how were they going to pay it back? Rose sensed her distress and got clingy. Clara picked her up and paced the kitchen, trying to think. When Cole finally came home, he saw Cross and his face went pale. What are you doing here? You know why I'm here. Cole looked at Clara, then back at Cross. Can we talk in private? Nothing private about debt, Mercer, but sure, let's talk. They went into the barn. Clara watched from the window, Rose on her hip, and tried to read their body language. Cole looked angry. Cross looked calm. Neither looked happy. After 20 minutes, Cross rode away. Cole came back to the house looking like he'd aged 10 years. How much? Clara asked. $200. Clara nearly dropped Rose. 200? Cole, where are we going to get $200? I don't know. When did you borrow it? Last spring. When we were running low on feed and half the herd was sick, I had to do something. So you borrowed money without telling me? I was going to tell you, but then things got better and I thought I could pay it back before... Before what? Before it came due? Before we lost everything? Clara, Look you up. Don't. She set Rose down. Don't try to explain this away. You should have told me. I know. We're supposed to be partners, Cole. That means making decisions together, not hiding things because you think I can't handle them. I wasn't trying to hide it. I was trying to protect you. By lying? I didn't lie. You didn't tell me the truth. That's the same thing. They stared at each other across the kitchen. Rose started crying, picking up on the tension. Clara picked her up and walked out of the room. She didn't speak to Cole for the rest of the night, just fed Rose, put her to bed, and climbed into bed herself without saying goodnight. Cole slept on the floor by the fire. The next morning, they were coldly polite. Clara made breakfast. Cole ate. Neither of them talked about the debt, but it hung between them like smoke. Sarah came by that afternoon and immediately knew something was wrong. What happened? Clara told her. All of it. Sarah listened, then said, Men are idiots. You've said that before. Because it keeps being true. Sarah poured herself more tea. Look, he shouldn't have kept it from you. That's wrong, but he was trying to keep the ranch running, trying to provide. That counts for something. Not when it costs us $200 we don't have. Fair point. Clara slumped in her chair. I don't know what to do, Sarah. If we can't pay, we lose everything. But we don't have $200. We barely have $20. What about selling cattle? We need the cattle to survive the winter. If we sell now, we'll have nothing come spring. Then what? I don't know. They sat in silence for a while. Then Sarah said, You could ask Tom. He's got money saved. Might be willing to loan. No, I'm not borrowing more money to pay off existing debt. That's how people lose everything. Then you need to find another way to make money. Fast. Clara knew Sarah was right, but she had no idea how. That night she lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Cole breathed steadily beside her. They still weren't really talking, but at least they were sleeping in the same bed again. I'm sorry, Cole said into the darkness. Clara didn't respond. I should have told you about the debt, about all of it. I was wrong. Yeah, you were. I'm trying, Clara. I swear I am. But sometimes I still think I have to do everything myself, carry every burden, fix every problem. Why? Because that's what men do. That's what idiots do. Clara turned to face him. We're married, Cole. That means we carry things together, good and bad. You don't get to decide what I can handle. I know. Do you? Yes. He reached for her hand in the dark. I do, and I'm sorry for all of it. Clara squeezed his hand. We'll figure it out. How? I don't know yet, but we will. They fell asleep holding hands. The next morning, Clara had an idea. It wasn't a good idea, but it was the only one she had. I could take in laundry, she said. Cole looked up from his breakfast. What? Laundry. From people in town. I could wash and press their clothes for money. It's not much, but it's something. Clara. Or I could sell baked goods, pies, bread, cakes. I'm good at baking. People might pay for it. You're already doing everything around here. You can't take on more work. We need the money, Cole. Unless you have a better idea? He didn't. So Clara started taking in laundry. It was brutal work. Hauling water, heating it, scrubbing clothes until her hands were raw, hanging everything to dry, pressing with irons that weighed a ton. All while taking care of Rose and keeping the house running and helping Cole with ranch work when she could. Within a week, she was exhausted. Within 2 weeks, she was sick. She tried to hide it. Got up every morning even though her head pounded and her throat burned. Did the work even though her hands shook and her vision blurred. But on the 3rd week, she collapsed. Cole found her on the floor by the wash tub, unconscious, with Rose crying beside her. He carried her to bed and sent Tom for the doctor. The doctor came, examined her, and delivered his verdict, exhaustion and fever. She needed rest. Real rest, not the kind where she kept working through it. She's trying to kill herself, the doctor told Cole. If you want to keep your wife, make her stop. Cole sat by Clara's bed for 3 days while she burned with fever. Sarah came to help with Rose. Tom brought food. But Cole barely left Clara's side. He'd almost lost her. The thought hit him like a physical blow. He'd been so focused on the debt, on keeping the ranch running, on proving he could provide, he hadn't noticed that Clara was drowning. When her fever finally broke, the first thing she said was, "The laundry is being handled. Don't worry about it. But the money, I don't care about the money." Clara tried to sit up, failed. "Cole, I mean it. I don't care if we lose the ranch. I don't care if we lose everything. I'm not losing you." That's easy to say when you're not the one who failed. You didn't fail. I did. I put us in this position. I kept secrets. I let you work yourself sick trying to fix my mistake. That's on me. Clara closed her eyes. I'm so tired. I know, so rest. But rest, Clara, please. Let me take care of things for once. She wanted to argue, but she didn't have the strength, so she slept. And while she slept, Cole made a decision. He rode into town and found William Cross. I can't pay you, Cole said. Not right now, but I can give you something else. I don't want excuses, Mercer. Not excuses, collateral. Cole pulled out a deed. The ranch. I'll sign it over to you. If I can't pay within 6 months, it's yours. Cross studied him. That's a hell of a gamble. It's all I got. And what makes you think you'll be able to pay in 6 months if you can't pay now? Because I'll figure something out. I always do. Cross took the deed and looked it over. Then he pulled out a pen. 6 months, he said. Not a day more. Cole signed. When he got home, Clara was awake. Sarah had helped her to the kitchen table where she was drinking broth and looking fragile. What did you do? Clara asked. Cole told her. Her face went white. You put up the ranch? I had to. Cole, it buys us time. 6 months to figure something out. And if we can't, then we start over somewhere else. This is our home. You're my home, Cole said. Everything else is just dirt and wood. Clara started crying. I don't want to lose it. We won't, I promise. You can't promise that. Watch me. He knelt beside her chair and took her hands in his. They were still raw from scrubbing laundry, still marked with the evidence of how hard she'd worked. I'm sorry, he said, for all of this, for putting us here, for not seeing what it was doing to you. I'm sorry. We're in this together, Clara said. Remember? That's what you told me. Yeah. Then stop trying to fix everything yourself. Let me help. You've helped enough, more than enough. Cole, I mean it. You rest. You get better. And I'll figure out how to save this place. Clara wanted to argue, but she was too tired, so she nodded, and Cole kissed her forehead and promised himself he'd find a way, even if it killed him. Cole spent the next week working like a man possessed. He fixed every fence that needed fixing, repaired every broken tool, organized the barn until everything had a place. He was trying to outrun the fear, Clara knew, trying to work so hard he wouldn't have time to think about what he'd done. But the fear was there in his eyes every time he looked at her. Clara recovered slowly. Her fever broke, but the exhaustion lingered. Sarah came by daily, bringing food and watching Rose so Clara could rest. Tom stopped in to check the cattle and report back to Cole. Even some of the other neighbors, people who'd whispered about Clara behind her back, brought soup and bread and quiet apologies. Didn't realize you were working so hard, Mrs. Patterson said one afternoon. She stood on the porch holding a basket of rolls, looking uncomfortable. Should have helped instead of judging. Clara took the basket. Thank you. I mean it. What I said before about you and Cole, I was wrong. You're good people, both of you. It wasn't much, but it was something. By mid-November, Clara was back on her feet. Not at full strength, but functional. She started taking over the household work again, though Cole fought her on it. You need to rest. I've been resting for 2 weeks. I'm fine. Clara. Cole. I'll go crazy if I sit around one more day. Let me do this. He relented, but he watched her like a hawk, ready to catch her if she faltered. She didn't falter, wouldn't let herself, because they had 4 months left to save the ranch, and sitting around wasn't going to help. One night, after Rose was asleep, Clara sat Cole down at the kitchen table. We need a plan, she said. I'm working on it. What kind of plan? Cole rubbed his face. I don't know yet. Sell some cattle, maybe. Take on more work. Something. Selling cattle won't get us $200, not in winter. I know. And there's no work this time of year. Everyone's hunkered down. I know that too. Clara reached across the table and took his hand. Tell me the truth. Do you think we can do this? Cole was quiet for a long moment. Then, I don't know, but I'm going to try like hell. That's not an answer. It's the only one I got. Clara pulled her hand back. That's not good enough, Cole. We need a real plan. Something concrete. Not just try like hell. Then what do you suggest? I don't know. But we need to figure it out together. Not you carrying everything and me sitting here helpless. You're not helpless. Then stop treating me like I am. They stared at each other across the table. The fire crackled. Outside, wind rattled the windows. All right, Cole said finally, together. What do we have that's worth money? Clara thought. Cattle. But we need most of them to survive. Horses. Same problem. Tools. But nobody's buying tools in winter. The land itself. But that's what's at stake. What about skills? What do you mean? Things we can do. Things people might pay for. Cole leaned forward. I can do carpentry, fix things, work with animals. You can cook, sew, manage a household. There's got to be something there. Clara's mind started working. The Bridgers Point Hotel. What about it? They're always looking for help. Cooks, cleaners, people to work the dining room. I heard Mrs. Patterson talking about it. They can't keep staff because nobody wants to live in town. You want to work at a hotel? Why not? The pay's decent. I could work a few days a week, come home on weekends. It's better than nothing. Clara, I'm not letting you work yourself sick again. I'm not going to work myself sick. I'll be careful, but we need the money. Cole shook his head. There's got to be another way. Then tell me what it is. He couldn't. They argued about it for another hour before Clara finally said, I'm going to town tomorrow to ask. You can come with me or not, but I'm going. Clara, this is not up for debate. Cole knew that tone, knew there was no point arguing. Fine, he said, but I'm coming with you, and if I don't like what they're offering, we're walking away. Deal. They rode into Bridgers Point the next morning. Rose stayed with Sarah, who'd agreed to watch her for the day. The town was quiet. Most people were inside keeping warm. The hotel stood on Main Street, 3 stories of wood and stone with a sign that read Mountain View Hotel in faded paint. Inside, it was warmer. A fire burned in the main room. A woman behind the desk looked up when they entered. Help you? I'm looking for work, Clara said. Heard you might need kitchen help. The woman, middle-aged, thin, with sharp eyes, looked Clara up and down. You got experience? I ran my family's boarding house in Kansas for 5 years. Cooked for 30 people daily. I can make anything from scratch and I don't burn food. References? Sarah Henderson, Tom Henderson. Ask anyone in Frost Creek Valley about Clara Mercer. The woman considered. Pays 25 cents a day plus room and board. Works Tuesday through Saturday, Sundays and Mondays off. You start at 5 in the morning, finish when the dinner service is done. Usually around 8 at night. Clara did the math in her head. $1.25 a week. $5 a month. $30 in 6 months. Not nearly enough. What about laundry? Clara asked. I could do hotel laundry too for extra. Laundry's another 15 cents a day. That brought it to 40 cents daily. $2 a week. $48 in 6 months if she worked every scheduled day. Still not enough. But it was a start. I'll take it, Clara said. When can you start? Next Tuesday. The woman pulled out a ledger. Name? Clara Mercer. Address? Mercer Ranch, Frost Creek Valley. The woman wrote it down, then looked up. You got a husband? Children? Both. They all right with you working? Clara glanced at Cole. His jaw was tight, but he nodded. They're fine with it, Clara said. All right then. See you Tuesday at 5 sharp. Don't be late. They left the hotel and walked back to the horses in silence. You sure about this? Cole asked. No, but we don't have a choice. There's always a choice. Not when the alternative is losing everything. Clara untied her horse. I'll be gone 4 days a week. You'll have to manage Rose and the ranch. Can you do that? I'll manage. Cole, I said I'll manage. I don't like it, but I'll do it. They rode home without talking much. Clara's mind was already working through logistics. She'd need to prepare meals in advance for Cole and Rose. Make sure there was enough firewood. Get Rose used to being without her for days at a time. The thought of leaving Rose made her chest hurt. But they needed the money. And this was the only way she knew to get it. That night, she held Rose a little tighter before putting her to bed. "Ma?" Rose said. She was talking more now, stringing together simple words. "Yeah, baby?" "Love." Clara's throat closed up. "I love you too. So much." Rose patted her face with sticky hands, then yawned and settled into sleep. Clara stood there for a long time, just watching her breathe. When she finally went to bed, Cole was waiting. "You don't have to do this," he said. "Yes, I do. I'll find another way." "There is no other way. Not fast enough." Clara climbed into bed beside him. "I know you don't like it. I don't like it either, but it's temporary. 6 months. We can survive 6 months. What if something happens to you?" "Nothing's going to happen." "You don't know that." Clara turned to face him. "I nearly died giving you this baby. I watched my own son die in my arms. I've survived worse than working in a hotel kitchen. I'll be fine." Cole pulled her close. "I hate this." "I know. I hate that I put us here, that you have to work yourself to the bone because I borrowed money we couldn't pay back. We put us here. Both of us. We made choices, some good, some bad. And now we're dealing with the consequences. Together." "Together," Cole echoed. They fell asleep holding each other, both pretending they weren't scared. Clara started work the following Tuesday. Cole drove her to town in the wagon before dawn. Rose cried when Clara kissed her goodbye. Cole looked like he wanted to cry too, but held it together. 4 days, Clara said. "I'll be home Saturday night. Be safe." "Always am." She climbed down from the wagon and watched them drive away. Rose's crying faded into the distance. Clara stood there until she couldn't hear it anymore, then turned and went into the hotel. The work was brutal. She started in the kitchen at 5, building fires and heating water. By 6, she was making breakfast for 20 hotel guests: eggs, bacon, biscuits, gravy, coffee. The cook, a grizzled man named Frank, barked orders and expected them followed immediately. Clara learned fast. After breakfast service, she cleaned the kitchen, then started prep for lunch, then lunch service, then more cleaning, then dinner prep, then dinner service, then final cleanup. By the time she finished, it was past 9, and her feet felt like they'd been beaten with hammers. Her room was tiny, barely bigger than a closet. A cot, a wash basin, a hook for her clothes. She collapsed on the cot fully dressed and was asleep in minutes. The next day was the same, and the day after that. By Thursday, Clara's hands were raw again. Her back ached. She'd burned herself twice on hot pans and cut her finger chopping vegetables. But she kept going. Friday night, after dinner service, Frank pulled her aside. "You're doing good work," he said. "Thank you." "Most people don't last a week. You got grit." Clara didn't know what to say to that, so she just nodded. Saturday morning, she finished her shift and collected her pay. $2.40. She tucked it carefully into her pocket and walked to where Cole was waiting with the wagon. Rose saw her first and shrieked with joy. "Ma! Ma!" Clara climbed up and pulled Rose into her lap, breathing in her little girl's smell of milk and outdoors. "I missed you," she whispered. Rose just held on tight. The ride home was quiet. Cole kept glancing at Clara like he was checking to make sure she was real. "How was it?" he finally asked. "Hard, but I'll survive." "You look tired." "I am tired." "Clara?" "I'm fine, Cole. Really. Just need some rest." But rest wasn't really an option. She had 2 days at home, and there was work to be done. Laundry, cooking, cleaning, spending time with Rose. By Monday night, she felt like she'd barely sat down. Tuesday morning came too fast. This became her life. 4 days at the hotel, 2 days at home. Week after week. By December, she'd saved $24. Not even close to what they needed, but it was something. Cole was holding up his end. The ranch ran, not smoothly, but it ran. He learned to change Rose's diapers without gagging, learned to make simple meals, learned to braid Rose's hair, though his attempts looked like birds had nested in it. "You're getting better," Clara said one Saturday, trying not to laugh at Rose's lopsided braids. "I'm really not." "Well, you're trying. That counts." Cole kissed her temple. "I miss you. Every day you're gone, I miss you." "I miss you too. This has to end soon. I can't keep doing this. 3 more months. We can make it 3 more months." But 3 months felt like forever. Christmas came and went with little fanfare. Clara managed to get Christmas Eve and Christmas Day off, but she worked the day before and the day after. They had a small tree, a simple meal, modest gifts. Rose didn't care. She was just happy to have Clara home. January brought bitter cold. Clara's walk from the hotel to the kitchen each morning was torture. Her fingers went numb, her face burned, but she kept going. One night in late January, she fainted in the kitchen. 1 minute she was standing at the stove. The next, she was on the floor with Frank hovering over her. "You all right?" "Yeah, just stood up too fast." "When's the last time you ate?" Clara tried to remember. "Breakfast?" No, she'd skipped breakfast to get ahead on lunch prep. "This morning." "Liar. Go eat something. Now." She ate some leftover bread and felt better, but Frank watched her like a hawk for the rest of the shift. That night, alone in her tiny room, Clara pressed her hand against her stomach and thought, "Please don't be pregnant. Not now. Not when we're this close." But deep down, she knew. She'd been too tired, too sick to her stomach in the mornings. Her monthly cycle hadn't come in 6 weeks. She was pregnant, and she had no idea how to tell Cole. She made it through another week before the morning sickness got too bad to hide. She was throwing up in a bucket behind the kitchen when Frank found her. "How far along?" Clara's head snapped up. "What?" "You're pregnant. I got 5 daughters. I know the signs." "How far along?" "I don't... Maybe 2 months?" "Does your husband know?" "No." "You planning to tell him?" "Eventually." Frank crossed his arms. "Look, I don't care what you do on your own time, but I can't have you passing out in my kitchen or puking in the dining room. You got 2 more weeks, then you're done." "But 2 weeks, that's generous. Most places would fire you today." Clara wanted to argue, but he was right. She couldn't keep this up. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Don't thank me, just don't die on my watch." Clara worked the next 2 weeks in a haze of nausea and exhaustion. She told herself she'd make it through. She'd save every penny. She'd figure something out. But when she collected her final pay, $19 for 2 weeks, bringing her total to $67, she knew it wasn't enough. They were still $133 short, and she was out of time. Cole picked her up that Saturday and knew immediately something was wrong. "What happened?" "I got let go." "Why?" Clara looked at Rose, then back at Cole. "I'll tell you at home." The ride back was tense. Rose babbled about something, a bird she'd seen maybe, but Clara barely heard her. When they got home, Cole put Rose down for a nap and turned to Clara. "Tell me." "I'm pregnant." Cole's face went through several emotions at once. Shock, joy, fear. "You're about 2 months, maybe 10 weeks. I wasn't sure at first, but now I am." "Clara, that's..." He stopped. "Wait, is that why they let you go?" "Frank said I couldn't keep working in the kitchen, said it was too dangerous. He gave me 2 weeks' notice." That's fair." "Fair?" Claire's voice cracked. "We need the money, Cole. We're barely halfway there, and I'm out of options." "We'll figure something else out." "There is nothing else. We've sold everything we can sell. I've worked myself into the ground. You've been taking care of everything here, and we're still short." "Then we'll what?" "Lose the ranch. That's what we'll do. We'll lose everything because I got pregnant at the worst possible time." Cole grabbed her shoulders. Don't you dare blame yourself for this." "Who else am I supposed to blame?" "Me. Blame me. I'm the one who borrowed the money. I'm the one who put up the ranch. This is my fault, not yours." Clara was crying now. "I just wanted to help. I wanted to save us. You did help. You saved $67. That's not nothing. It's not enough." "Maybe not, but it's more than we had." Cole pulled her close. "And you gave us a baby. Another chance. That's worth more than any ranch." Clara wanted to believe him, but all she could think about was losing their home, losing the place where Rose had taken her first steps, where Clara had finally felt like she belonged. She cried into Cole's chest while he held her and promised things he couldn't guarantee. That night, Clara lay awake long after Cole fell asleep. Her hand rested on her still flat stomach, and she thought about the life growing inside her, a baby she wanted desperately, a baby that might cost them everything. She must have dozed off eventually because she woke to Rose crying. Clara got up to check on her and found the room empty. The cradle was empty. "Rose," Clara called. Her voice was still thick with sleep. "Rose, where are you?" No answer. Clara's heart started pounding. She checked their bedroom. Not there. The kitchen. Not there. The spare room. Not there. "Cole!" She shook him awake. "Cole, I can't find Rose." He was up instantly. "What?" "She's not in her cradle. She's not anywhere." They searched the house together. Every room. Every corner. Nothing. Then Cole noticed the front door was slightly ajar. "When did you last check it was locked?" "Before bed. I know I locked it." But Rose had learned to reach the latch. If she'd climbed on something. Cole grabbed his coat. She went outside. It was snowing. Had been snowing all night. The ground was covered in white and the temperature had dropped below freezing. Clara's blood turned to ice. "Rose!" she screamed. "Rose!" Cole was already running toward the barn. Clara went the other direction toward the creek. Her feet were bare, and she was only wearing her nightgown, but she didn't care. "Rose! Baby, where are you?" Nothing but wind and snow. Clara's mind was racing. How long had Rose been gone? 10 minutes? 20? An hour? Long enough to freeze? Long enough to... No, she couldn't think like that. "Rose!" She made it to the creek and saw nothing, just water running black in the moonlight and snow falling thick. Then she heard it. A small sound, almost like crying. "Rose?" The sound came again, from the old lumber shed by the creek, the one they barely used anymore. Clara ran. The shed door was open. Inside, huddled in the corner, was Rose. She was wearing only her nightgown. Her lips were blue. She was shaking so hard her teeth chattered. "Mama," she whimpered. "Cold." Clara scooped her up and pressed Rose against her chest, trying to share body heat. Rose was freezing. Too cold. How long had she been out here? "Cole!" Clara screamed. "Cole, I found her!" She heard him running, heard him calling back. But she couldn't wait. Clara ran toward the house with Rose in her arms, snow falling around them, her own feet going numb from the cold. Cole met her halfway and took Rose, wrapping her in his coat. They both ran the rest of the way to the cabin. Inside, Cole built up the fire while Clara stripped Rose's wet nightgown and wrapped her in every blanket they owned. Rose was still shaking, still whimpering, but she was breathing. She was alive. "What was she doing out there?" Clara asked. Her own teeth were chattering now. "I don't know. Maybe she heard something. Maybe she was sleepwalking. Does it matter? She could have died. But she didn't." Clara held Rose close and cried, from fear, from relief, from exhaustion. Cole knelt beside them and wrapped his arms around both of them. "She's okay," he said. "We're all okay." But they weren't okay. Not really. Because Clara suddenly understood something with perfect clarity. If they lost the ranch, they'd survive. They'd find another place, must start over. But if they lost each other, if something happened to Rose or to Cole, or to this baby Clara was carrying, nothing else would matter. "We have to leave," Clara said. Cole pulled back. "What?" "The ranch. We have to leave it. Walk away before Cross takes it." "Clara, I mean it. This place isn't worth dying for. It's not worth Rose freezing to death because we're too busy trying to save it. It's not worth me working myself sick or you carrying all this guilt. It's just land, Cole. Just dirt and wood. It's our home. You're my home. You and Rose and this baby. That's home. Everything else is just everything else." Cole stared at her. Then at Rose, who'd finally stopped shaking and was falling asleep against Clara's chest. "Where would we go?" he asked quietly. "I don't know. Somewhere. Anywhere. We'll figure it out." "You'd really leave? After everything you did to stay?" "I'd leave right now if it meant keeping this family safe." Cole was quiet for a long time. The fire crackled. Rose's breathing evened out. Outside, the snow kept falling. "Okay," he finally said. "Okay? Okay, we'll leave. Soon as the weather clears, we'll pack up and go." Clara let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. "You're sure?" "No. But you're right. This place isn't worth losing you over." They sat there on the floor together, holding their daughter, watching the fire burn. And for the first time in months, Clara felt something like peace. They didn't have money, didn't have a plan, didn't know where they were going, but they had each other. And somehow, that was enough. They spent the next week preparing to leave. Cole sorted through tools, deciding what to take and what to leave behind. Clara packed their clothes, their dishes, everything they'd need to start over. Rose sensed the change and got clingy, following Clara everywhere. "Where go?" she kept asking. "Somewhere new, baby. Somewhere better." But Clara wasn't sure she believed it. On Thursday, Tom Henderson rode up just as Cole was loading the wagon. "Heard you're leaving," Tom said. Word traveled fast in the valley. "Yeah, can't make the payment. Figure we'll get out before Cross comes to collect." Tom dismounted. "That's a damn shame. This is good land. Good land we can't afford." "What if you could?" Cole stopped loading. "What are you talking about?" Tom pulled an envelope from his coat. "Sarah and I talked. We got some money saved. Not a lot, but enough to help. We're loaning you $100. Cole stared at the envelope like it might bite him. "Tom, before you say no, hear me out. We've been neighbors 5 years. You helped me rebuild my barn when it burned. You helped birth Sarah's mare when she had complications. You've been good to us, and we're returning the favor. I can't take your money. Sure you can. Call it a loan if it makes you feel better. Pay us back when you can. No interest, no deadline. Just neighbor helping neighbor." Cole looked at Clara. She'd come out onto the porch and was listening. "That's incredibly generous," Clara said, "but it's still not enough. We need 200. We've only got 67. "Actually," Tom said, pulling out another envelope, "you've got more than that. Sarah took up a collection, talked to folks around the valley. Most people contributed something. Some gave $1, some gave $5. Old Mrs. Patterson gave 10. Clara's eyes filled with tears. "Why would they do that?" "Because they were wrong about you. All of them. And they know it now." Tom handed her the second envelope. "There's $73 in there. Combined with what you got and what we're loaning, you've got exactly $240. Enough to pay Cross with 40 to spare." Cole took both envelopes with shaking hands. "Tom, I don't know what to say. Don't say anything. Just stay. This valley needs good people, and you two are the best we got." Clara was crying openly now. Cole looked like he might join her. "We'll pay you back," Cole said. "Every penny. I swear it. I know you will, but take your time. Build your life first." Tom climbed back on his horse. "Sarah's expecting you for dinner on Sunday. Don't be late." He rode off before either of them could respond. Cole and Clara stood in the yard holding the envelopes and staring at each other. "We're not leaving," Clara said. "No, we're not." Rose came running out of the house. "Stay?" Clara scooped her up. "Yeah, baby, we're staying." That afternoon, Cole rode to Bridger's Point and found William Cross at the saloon. "Got your money," Cole said, dropping the cash on the table. Cross counted it slowly. $200 exactly. He looked up at Cole with something like respect. "Didn't think you'd pull it off?" "Neither did I." Cross pulled out the deed and pushed it across the table. "Ranch is yours, fair and square." Cole took the deed and felt like he could breathe for the first time in 6 months. "Appreciate you giving me the time." "Appreciate you paying me back. Most folks don't." Cross finished his drink. "You're a good man, Mercer. Hold on to that land. And that wife of yours. She's something special." "I know." Cole rode home with the deed in his pocket and $40 he hadn't expected to have. The sun was setting, turning the valley gold and orange. The mountains stood dark against the sky. And for the first time since Elena died, Cole felt like maybe things would be all right. When he got home, Clara was making dinner. Rose was playing with wooden blocks. The cabin smelled like bread and stew and home. "It's done," Cole said. Clara turned from the stove. "Really?" "Really. The ranch is ours." She crossed the room and kissed him hard. "We did it. You did it. You worked yourself half to death to save this place. We both did. Together." "Together," Cole agreed. They ate dinner as a family that night. Rose made a mess of her food like always. Clara and Cole talked about plans for spring, new fences, maybe some chickens, fixing the leak in the barn roof. Normal things, easy things. After Rose was asleep, they sat by the fire. "You know," Clara said, "for a while there, I didn't think we'd make it." "Make what? The payment?" "Everything. The marriage, the ranch, all of it." Cole pulled her close. "We're stronger than we look." Are we? Because sometimes I feel like we're held together with spit and prayer. Maybe. But we're still together. That's what matters. Clara rested her hand on her stomach. What about the baby? Are you scared? Terrified, but also excited. We know what we're doing this time. We're not the same people we were when Rose was born. No, we're not. And this baby, Cole put his hand over hers. This baby is ours, from the beginning. No grief, no guilt, just us. Clara leaned into him. I love you. I love you too. They sat there until the fire burned low, holding each other and thinking about the future. The winter passed slowly. Clara's pregnancy progressed without major problems. She was sick in the mornings, but nothing like the exhaustion she'd felt working at the hotel. Cole was attentive without being smothering. Rose was excited about becoming a big sister, though she didn't really understand what that meant. Spring arrived with mud and rain and new grass pushing through old snow. Cole started the planting while Clara prepared the house for the baby. Sarah came by often, bringing hand-me-down baby clothes and advice Clara mostly ignored. You're doing it wrong, Sarah said, watching Clara fold cloth diapers. There's a wrong way to fold diapers. Well, no, but then I'm doing it right, Sarah laughed. Fair enough. You always were stubborn. Runs in the family. By May, Clara was enormous. She moved like a ship in rough water, all bulk and determination. Rose thought it was hilarious. Mama fat, she'd say, poking Clara's belly. Mama's pregnant. There's a difference. Baby in there? Yes, baby's in there. Rose would press her ear against Clara's stomach and listen. Baby sleeping. Most of the time, yes. But at night, the baby was active. Clara would lie awake feeling kicks and rolls and wondering if she could survive childbirth again. The last time had nearly killed her. What if this time it did? She didn't share these fears with Cole. He had enough to worry about. But he knew anyway. One night in late May, lying in bed with his hand on her belly, Cole said, You're scared. I'm not. Don't lie to me. Clara was quiet for a moment, then, Last time I almost died. Thomas told me the midwife said it was a miracle I survived, that if the baby had been any bigger, we both would have died. You had a different midwife then, and you're stronger now. Am I? Because I don't feel stronger. I feel terrified. Cole propped himself up on one elbow. Listen to me. You're the strongest person I know. You survived losing your family. You survived a bad marriage. You survived nearly starving yourself to save this ranch. You can survive this too. You don't know that. I do, because you're not doing it alone. I'll be there. Sarah will be there. And if anything goes wrong, we'll deal with it. Together. Clara wanted to believe him, but fear had sharp teeth and it wouldn't let go. The baby came in June. Clara's water broke while she was hanging laundry. She stood there in the yard, soaked and surprised, and called for Cole. He came running. Is it time? I think so. I'll get Sarah. Cole. But he was already gone, riding like the devil was chasing him. Sarah arrived 20 minutes later with her medical bag and a calm demeanor that Clara envied. How far apart are the contractions? Maybe 10 minutes. I don't know. I wasn't timing them. All right, let's get you inside. The labor was long, longer than with her first baby. Clara walked, squatted, did everything Sarah told her to do. Cole stayed close, holding her hand when the contractions got bad, wiping her face with a cool cloth. Rose was at the Henderson place with Tom. Clara was grateful for that. Didn't want her daughter seeing her like this. By evening, the contractions were coming fast. Clara was exhausted, drenched in sweat, ready for it to be over. I can see the head, Sarah said. One more big push. Clara pushed, screamed, pushed again, and then crying. Not her crying. Baby crying. It's a boy, Sarah said, holding up a red, angry, perfect baby boy. Clara started laughing and crying at the same time. A boy. She'd had a boy. Sarah cleaned him up and handed him to Clara. He was smaller than Rose had been, with a shock of dark hair and Cole's nose. He stopped crying the moment Clara held him. Hello, Clara whispered. Hello, little one. Cole was standing beside the bed, staring at his son like he'd never seen anything more miraculous. He's perfect, Cole said. He is. What should we name him? Claire had been thinking about this for months. What about Charlie? After my brother? Cole smiled. Charlie Mercer. I like it. Charlie, their son, alive and healthy and here. Clara looked up at Cole and saw tears in his eyes. You did it, he said. We did it. He kissed her forehead, then looked at his son. Welcome to the family, Charlie. The baby just yawned. The next few weeks were chaos. Charlie was a good baby, slept well, nursed easily, but Rose was jealous of the attention. She'd throw tantrums when Clara fed Charlie, or ignore Cole when he tried to play with her. It took patience and time and a lot of reassurance before she came around. Baby stays? Rose asked one morning. Yes, baby stays. He's your brother. My baby? Our baby. The whole family's baby. Rose considered this. Then she climbed up onto the bed and patted Charlie's head. Nice baby, Clara smiled. Yes, nice baby. By July, they'd fallen into a rhythm. Clara handled the house and both children. Cole worked the ranch. They took turns cooking, cleaning, managing the chaos of two small children and a working ranch. It wasn't easy, but it was theirs. One evening, after both kids were asleep, Clara and Cole sat on the porch watching the sunset. You know, Clara said, 3 years ago, I thought my life was over. Thought I'd lost everything that mattered. And now? Now I have everything. You, Rose, Charlie, this place. I never thought I'd get a second chance. Cole took her hand. Me neither. When Elena died, I thought that was it. Thought I'd spend the rest of my life alone and angry. What changed? You did. You showed up in the middle of a storm and saved more than just Rose. You saved me too. Clara squeezed his hand. We saved each other. Yeah, we did. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the light fade from the valley. The mountains turned purple, then black. Stars started appearing one by one. What do you think people will say about us? Clara asked. Years from now, when we're gone. I don't know, maybe nothing. Maybe we'll just be 2 more names in a cemetery. That's depressing. Cole smiled. Or maybe they'll tell stories about the widow who showed up in a storm, about the rancher who almost lost everything, about how they built something that lasted. I like that better. Me too. Inside, Charlie started crying. Clara started to get up, but Cole stopped her. I'll get him. You rest. You sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Cole went inside and came back a few minutes later with Charlie in his arms. The baby had quieted down and was looking around with unfocused eyes. He was just lonely, Cole said, settling back into his chair. Clara watched her husband hold their son and felt something settle in her chest. Peace, maybe. Or just contentment. The knowledge that they'd made it through the worst and come out the other side. A year passed. Then another. The ranch prospered, not wildly, but steadily. They paid Tom back his $100, saved some money, made improvements to the house and barn. Rose started learning her letters. Charlie took his first steps. Clara found herself pregnant again in the spring of their 4th year together. This time she wasn't scared, just resigned to 9 more months of being huge and uncomfortable. How many kids are we going to have? She asked Cole one night. How many do you want? I don't know. 3 seems like a good number. 3 it is then. Their 3rd child, a daughter they named Emma, was born that winter. The delivery was easier than the first 2. Emma was small and quiet and looked exactly like Clara. We're outnumbered now, Cole said, holding his daughter while Rose and Charlie fought over a toy. We were always outnumbered. Fair point. By the time Emma turned 1, Rose was 6 and Charlie was 3. The house was loud and chaotic and full of life. Clara spent most days managing small disasters and wondering how she'd ever thought ranch work was hard. Compared to 3 children, cattle were easy, but she wouldn't change it for anything. One afternoon in late summer, Clara was in the garden with all 3 kids. Rose was helping weed, Charlie was eating dirt, Emma was sleeping in a basket nearby. Sarah rode up and dismounted. You look exhausted, Sarah said. I am exhausted. Want to trade lives? Absolutely not. I'm too old for this. They sat in the shade while the kids played. Sarah pulled out her knitting, a blanket for someone's new baby. Remember when you first came to this valley? Sarah asked. Of course. I was terrible to you. You were. I'm sorry for that, truly sorry. Clara looked at her friend. I forgave you years ago, Sarah. Let it go. I think about the things I said, the way I treated you, and I'm ashamed. You should be. But you're also the person who collected money to save our ranch, who helped deliver 2 of my babies, who's been here every week for the last 4 years. That matters more than what you said when we first met. Sarah wiped her eyes. You're too kind. I'm not kind, I'm just practical. Holding grudges takes energy I don't have. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Sarah said, You've built something good here, you and Cole. Against all odds, you built something good. We got lucky. Luck had nothing to do with it. You worked, you fought, you didn't give up even when everyone said you should. That's not luck. That's character. Clara didn't know what to say to that. Rose came over and climbed into Clara's lap. Mama, Charlie's eating worms again. Charlie, spit them out, Clara called. Charlie just grinned, his mouth full of dirt and probably worms. Sarah laughed. Never a dull moment. Never, Clara agreed. That night, after all 3 children were finally asleep, which took an hour of negotiations and threats, Clara collapsed into bed. I'm too old for this, she said. Cole laughed. You're 32. I feel 60. He pulled her close. You're beautiful. I'm covered in baby spit and garden dirt. Beautiful, he repeated. Clara turned to face him. Do you ever regret it, marrying me, having all these kids, choosing this life? Never. Not once. You? No. But sometimes I wonder what life would have been like if things had been different, if Elena had lived, if my son had survived, if... Don't, Cole said gently. Don't live in what ifs. We got what we got, and what we got is pretty damn good. Yeah, it is. They fell asleep holding hands, like they did most nights. 5 years after Clara first knocked on Cole's door, they stood in front of the cabin on a warm May evening. Someone had painted a new sign for the gate. Cole wouldn't say who, but Clara suspected Tom. The sign read, Mercer and Bennett Ranch. When did you do this? Clara asked. Last week, while you were in town. Cole, your name belongs on this ranch same as mine. You saved it. You built it. It's yours too. Clara traced the letters with her finger. Her name. Right there next to his. Equal, official. Thank you, she whispered. Cole wrapped his arms around her from behind, his hands resting on her still flat stomach where baby number 4 was just beginning to grow. Thank you for staying, he said, for fighting, for not giving up on me or this place or us. Where else would I go? Anywhere. You could have gone anywhere. But I chose here. I chose you. I'd choose you again every single time. They stood there watching the sun set over the valley they'd fought so hard to keep. Rose was chasing Charlie around the yard. Emma was picking flowers. The cattle were grazing peacefully. The fences stood straight and strong. It wasn't perfect. The roof still leaked when it rained hard. The barn door stuck in winter. There was always more work than time. And money was still tight more often than not. But it was theirs, built with sweat and tears and love that refused to quit. What do you think happens next? Clara asked. I don't know. More kids, probably. More hard winters. More struggles. Sounds terrible. Sounds like life. Clara leaned back against him. As long as we're together, I can handle anything. Me too. Rose ran up to them, out of breath and laughing. Duh, Charlie says cows can't jump. Tell him I'm right. About what? The cows can jump. They can jump over the moon. Cole knelt down to her level. That's just a story, sweetheart. Real cows don't jump that high. But they could if they tried. Maybe, but it would take a lot of trying. Rose seemed satisfied with that answer and ran off to continue her argument with Charlie. Clara smiled. She's got your stubbornness. She's got yours. We're raising a house full of stubborn kids. Good. Stubborn people survive. They don't give up when things get hard. They keep fighting. Clara thought about everything they'd survived. The grief, the scandal, the debt, the near-death experiences, the moments when it would have been easier to quit. But they hadn't quit. They'd planted roots in hard soil and refused to let go. You know what I think, Clara said. What? I think we're going to be okay. Not perfect, not easy, but okay. Cole kissed her temple. I think so too. They called the kids in for dinner as the first stars appeared. The cabin glowed with lamplight. Smoke rose from the chimney. The valley settled into evening peace. And inside, around a table that had seen its share of both sorrow and joy, a family sat down to eat. A family that had been broken and rebuilt. A family that proved love wasn't about perfection. It was about showing up again and again, even when it hurt. The widowed rancher who'd nailed a desperate note to his door. The heavy-set woman who'd arrived in a storm with nothing but milk and heartbreak. The baby who'd brought them together. And all the beautiful chaos that followed. They'd built something that would last. Not because it was easy, but because they'd chosen each other anyway, over and over, until choosing each other became as natural as breathing. Years later, long after Cole and Clara were gone, people would still talk about the Mercer Ranch, about the family that had weathered every storm the valley threw at them, about the woman who'd been called every cruel name but proved she was stronger than any insult, about the man who'd learned that love didn't replace loss. It sat alongside it, making room for both grief and joy. But that night, none of them knew how the story would end. They just knew they were together. And somehow, that was enough. More than enough. It was everything.